technical sense. And boy, Hosmer, or we should say Pruett, they're using a lot of the road.
Pruett losing a lot of road, smoking a little bit there too, as Neifel really gives him a hard time.
Let's find out more about the problem for Pete Hosmer. Bob Barsha is on pit road.
Pete Hosmer pulls into the Roush Racing pits, and the crew springs into action. They're going to take off the engine hood. It looks like he's got some kind of a problem with the mechanics, and it looks like a loose piece of exhaust underneath. Crew Chief Richard Melentine and the crew are underneath, working savagely, trying to get that exhaust back in, but it looks like it's not going to be an easy job, and we'll get back to you as soon as they get some progress made.
Well, a bad day for Pete Hosmer as he's well and truly sidelined there with a broken exhaust header. But, however, his teammate Scott Pruett, number 2 here, coming into that. Oh, Neifel gets a bit wide there. They go into this fast complex. Scott Pruett using all the road there, jumping over that apex well and truly there, as we see the first 4 cars here really closely packed together.
We've been watching Pruett smoking the tires and running over those so-called dragon's teeth, those concrete ripples on the inside of the racetrack. Meanwhile, we see the 72 car of Neifel sliding around a little bit. It looks to me as if perhaps Pruett has the better handling car at the moment.
Well, I think he has. These turbo Mercures are very nimble, and they have very good throttle response for a turbo engine. As far as running the inside wheel over the apex like that, it doesn't really matter a lot because it's pretty lightly loaded. It's when you start running the outside wheel over the outside of the road and off the road that you start to break things.
Well, we have the Mercure out front of the charging General Motors cars, and problems for number 20, Dan Croft. He's off the road and into the grass here, and looks like he's stuck in the sand. A little burst of flame from the exhaust. That'll be a problem. That's going to set that dry grass on fire, David. This will get interesting.
Yeah, it will get interesting. And of course, he can't get the car off now because he's got the nose well and truly buried into that sand and is having trouble moving the car, and he has, in fact, set fire to the grass. So Dan Croft had better get out of there and get away from the scene. This is coming through the carousel, I think, as he just loses control coming down there. It's a difficult corner, and he's got himself up into that dry grass and well and truly buried the nose in that sand.
There's not a whole lot he can do at this point. The car is immobile, and so Croft is going to wisely elect to bail out and take a walk away. And look at this. He's going to leave just in time because those flames are going to get to that gas tank and make this very interesting.
Well, he doesn't seem to be in much of a hurry, and the other marshal down the road doesn't seem much of a hurry to do anything about it either. So, considering the whole place is going to go up in flames.
With the amount of flame, there doesn't seem to be a lot of excitement. But as the yellow flag flies, we have a burning controversy involving this car. Les Lindley has moved up into second spot. Bob Richards is going to tell us more about what's going on here.
While we're under caution here, while the track workers try to get this fire at the carousel under control, there's a bit of a controversy starting to arise. Chris Neifel claims that Les Lindley, the independent, passed him while they were under the caution. We'll go to the videotape now and take a look at just what happened. Here we see Lindley in the yellow 8 car passing Neifel on the outside. Now, upcoming, you'll see 2 corner workers not displaying the yellow flag. So it appears that Lindley is still in the right. We're not sure, though, if someone else has the yellow flag out. But right now, we'll try to find out more on that controversy, but let's go back upstairs to Dave Despain.
My vote goes to Les Lindley. I think the videotape provides good evidence. The last of the flames are being extinguished. The fire crews have gotten things under control here. The car, in fact, did not blow up, and it looks like Dan Croft is going to come out of this in pretty good shape. When we come back to the action, this man is going to be leading the race. Scott Pruett, new star of the Trans Am Series. Let's meet him with Bob Barsha.
Scott Pruett won the first Trans Am race he ever entered, the 1986 season opener at Riverside, California. Not unusual when you consider that Pruett has been racing for 18 of his 27 years.
I started racing in go-karts with my family. That was my dad and my brother. And I worked my way up through the years. And I really wasn't sure if I was, if you would have asked me when I was 17 years old, Scott, are you going to be a race car driver? I probably would have said no. And one time I thought I had to get a real job, right? So I went to work and started this business down in Alameda, probably the worst 6 months of my life. It was terrible. And in that amount of time, I knew I could never get away from motorsports. And at the end of that 6 months, Chris Pruett had called me and said, hey, are you interested in taking a test drive for Dan Gurney? I said, sure, great. So the first thing I did is I went to Bondurant School and got some advanced teaching in sedan cars, because I'd never been in one, and did the test drive with Dan, and also went and did the Toyota Celebrity Race at Long Beach that year, where I finished second to David Hobbs, right behind him. I think that opened up a lot of people's eyes.
One of those people was car builder Jack Roush, in whose IMSA GTO Ford Mustangs and Trans Am, Capris, and Mercures, Pruett won 9 races and a championship last year. Along the way, they have become close friends.
I mean, he's really given me the equipment that I've needed, and it's almost been, instead of just a worker or employee or driver-owner type of relationship, it's almost been like a father-son type relationship.
Having proven himself in sports cars and sedans, Pruett now has his sights set on joining the best drivers of his generation. But he plans to take a different road, Formula One.
I'm in a position now where I have a lot of momentum going over here, and things are going well, but I'm not really set. I'm not like, let's say, Alan Jr. or Michael Andretti, who really have their career set for them. I mean, they're set in Indy cars, and I've been doing that and making good money and have a family and so on, where I really don't have that. I mean, I have a mother and father, of course, but no wife and no children and no house or anything like that. I'm pretty mobile still. And I've kept myself in that position so I could make the jump and go to Europe.
Working toward his goal, Pruett keeps a hectic schedule, racing as often as twice a weekend, every weekend.
You know, they always make that funny statement that once motorsport or once racing's in your blood, I mean, it's something that's there forever, and I think that is definitely true. I can't get away from it. So I want to just keep things going as fast as possible. I mean, race to race to race. If I have to race twice in a weekend, that's great. And if I have to race once every weekend, that's fine. But if I have a weekend off, maybe I'll look at getting out one of my karts and go out and playing on the weekend or something. But I really enjoy it a lot.
Scott's having fun here. He leads over the second-place controversy, and we'll be back with more right after this. Afternoon moving toward its conclusion. Dave is Spain with David Hobbs, and out front, Scott Pruett in the Mercury Mercure. The real story in this one is the race for second, David.
The race for second between Les Lindley, car number 8, and 72 Neifel. Lindley, a relative veteran, Neifel, a young up-and-coming young driver, and they've been having a battle all afternoon, and of course there's some controversy there because Neifel maintains that Lindley overtook him under the caution flag earlier on. Lindley says not so. Neifel tries to jump the start there, has to lift out of it, gets balked, then the flag does come out, and he finds himself on the wrong side of the track, and Lindley maintains that second spot.
Well, that might have been a controversy right there because Neifel definitely tried to jump around Lindley. The yellow didn't come out. Now Lindley moves up and gives the leader a tap. That's the orange Camaro of Les Lindley, belting the leader, Scott Pruett, trying to push him out of the way as they contest the lead with Neifel in hot pursuit, and it's a great three-car battle up front. Les Lindley, a 6-year veteran of this series, the man with a mustache, hungry for a victory here as he equals his best series performance ever.
You need to win. In other words, everybody out there has to have the feeling that they can win. And I've been in this is my, I think, 6th year, going 7 years in Trans Am, and I'm still looking for the checkered flag. I want one of those checkered flags.
Les, the privateer, pursuing the factory car here of Scott Pruett, the leader, and that's become the story in this one. As they continue their pretty good 1-2 tussle, Chris Neifel is losing ground, and boy, he continues to keep the pressure on the leader, and that's really what Lindley's got to do here. Yeah,
he absolutely has got to keep the pressure if he wants to try and win this, his first ever Trans Am, and that is keeping the pressure on just about as much as you possibly can apply it. As Lindley really gives Scott Pruett, our leader, a pretty hard time around there. Although I feel that Scott Pruett has probably got this race pretty much under control. Neifel seems to have lost a little bit of ground on that lap.
Why do you say that, as close as Lindley is?
Well, I think the Turbo Mercure is probably a better car to drive. It's probably easier to drive. It's a little bit more nimble. It's probably got more horsepower, that's for sure. And I think it probably handles a little bit better. And in fact, here we are in the inside of Scott as he goes through turn 2, over the top of turn 3, and down to turn 4. Pruett is one of those very smooth drivers. He's very young. He's very aggressive. He very rarely flies off the road, which of course is the key in racing. To first finish, you've got to finish the race. And Scott is very good at finishing races. Here we see him come to the carousel. He takes a nice tight line all the way around the inside, not letting anybody get alongside him there. He's going to clip the apex here, which he does right there on the apex. Swings out right here, usually all the road. He's very smooth. You can see that from his hand movements. And he's good on machinery. His cars don't often break. And all those things, it takes all those things added together to make a good racing driver, apart from the normal things that everybody expects you to have, lightning reactions and so on and so forth. You've got to have good thinking as well.
Well, here's a car that did break. That's the 42 of Bruce Jenner out of this event. Let's mention that Scott Pruett's teammate Pete Halsmer has returned to the action, but he is far